Okay, so I've left this story in the back burner for way too long. The final part of me and my crush. And I just want to say I am so sorry that I did not give it to you guys sooner. I should have gave it to you guys sooner, and I don't know why I didn't, but I guess this video will finally make up for that. So let's just get straight into it so I don't waste your time. Actually, that's a lie. I'm gonna waste 2 seconds just to say make sure you guys do follow my Kick, because I'm streaming on Kick, going live, and also telling you guys crazy stories just like this one. Anyways, let's get straight into it. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name's Bubba, and we'll get back to an awesome story. So today's story is the final part of me and my crush. If you guys didn't see that story, basically go back to the last 2 videos of basically where I ended up blue balling in front of my crush in my middle school dance, and also I ended up asking my middle school crush to the dance. If you guys watch those 2 videos, honestly, you guys will understand what happens, and basically now we ended up here. Anyways, last we left off, I remember basically I was walking home from the school dance all upset and really down, but I was getting text messages back to back to back on my phone of basically people saying that I should come back. Now, obviously, I ignored it. I was too embarrassed, and honestly, I was really shy. Like, are you kidding me? I literally had like blue balls in front of my crush, and you expect me to go back? I couldn't. I was too embarrassed, and I was so nervous. So I remember basically what ended up happening was I ended up staying at home, just playing video games, and even the next morning when I woke up, I didn't want to go to school. I was so shy and so embarrassed, but then I ended up getting an Instagram notification. I got an Instagram notification of, funny enough, my middle school crush liking one of my photos. It was the photo that my mom took before I went to the school dance, and I forgot I posted it, but she ended up liking it, and she commented under it saying, "Can't wait to see you at school." Like, really? Are you actually excited to see me at school? Is what I thought in my mind, because there's no way this girl was actually excited after I literally had blue balls and ran away from her in the middle of the school dance. Like I said, if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, go back to the last episode of this. Anyways, going on from there though, I remember I ended up getting my backpack ready and stuff because my mom always told me that I had to go to school, and by that I mean she would take away my console if I didn't. So yeah, I got ready for school and I started walking to school. As I was walking to school though, I remember I was really kind of just walking really slowly, because in my mind I was thinking if I go to school and I had to explain to everyone that I got a basic blue balls in front of my middle school crush during a dance, I could never live with myself. Anyways, I was writing in my journal basically saying how I really didn't want to go to school, and then I finally made it to the front steps. When I got to the front steps, I remember I opened the door handle, and once I walked in, I remember seeing a lot of people actually staring at me. I don't know why they were staring at me. I don't know if it was because I had my shirt on backwards, or it's because maybe I had my backpack kind of in a weird angle. I have no idea. But anyways, as I was walking through the hallway, I remember I ended up seeing my locker. And as you guys may know, I ended up getting my locker beside my crush's locker. So I remember as I was walking up to my locker, my crush was already there. I didn't want to walk up to her. I couldn't after what I did. So I remember I kind of just ended up turning around and walking away and basically trying to avoid her. And I remember I kept avoiding her throughout the whole day. Like, I think I didn't even go to my locker. You know what I mean? Like, I just couldn't. But then I remember when I ended up going into my math class, me and her, we sat in the same table group. And when I sat down on my desk, I remember I ended up kind of looking at her because she was literally sitting right across from me. It was like a super awkward dinner date with a girl that you just don't know how to speak to. So I remember I ended up just sitting down, and then she ended up looking at me saying, "Hey, Bubba, can I talk to you after school, please?" Yeah, sure, is what I ended up telling her. I didn't know why she wanted to talk to me or why she whispered she wanted to talk to me. I was already embarrassed enough. Like, she didn't have to tell me to my face. At least that's what I thought was gonna happen. But I remember I ended up looking around the classroom, and honestly, everything kind of just started to go normal. Maybe I was overreacting a bit when I thought, you know, maybe my world was over. But I remember after math class, I ended up going to my locker with her, and we ended up talking. As we were walking to our lockers, I remember she looked at me and said, "Hey, like, I just have a question. Like, was everything okay yesterday?" And I ended up looking at her saying, "Oh yeah, like, it's fine. I was okay." She ended up looking at me, and she realized I was stuttering and said, "Listen, like, honestly, I heard a rumor, but like, I don't know if it's true." "What's the rumor?" is what I asked her afterwards. She ended up finally saying to me, "Well, like, I heard that, like, I don't know, like, you got like hard from me dancing with me yesterday." "Where'd you hear that from?" "What? No, I would never get that hard," is what I said. And honestly, it's weird how people found that out as well. Like, I have no idea how people found out I got blue balls from my middle school crush during the school dance listening to Girl on Fire by Alicia Keys. But I remember out of pure embarrassment, I ended up just looking at her as she looked at me kind of like in a puzzled face. And I ended up saying, okay, yeah, maybe I got one. And honestly, I'm sorry. I didn't know what came a hold of me. And I basically apologized to my middle school crush that I had blue balls. I apologize for having blue balls. What man has to apologize for his giant eggplant to become giant? I don't know. I was really upset. And I remember I was embarrassed and I didn't know what to think. And when I apologized, I remember I was looking at the ground. But then when I looked up and I looked at her eyes, she ended up kissing me. Yeah. She ended up kissing me. I don't know what I did, but she literally just came up to me and just kissed me right in my face. And at that moment, I was confused. I'm like, wait, what? You just kissed me, is what I said after she was done. She looked at me and said, well, yeah, like, honestly, like, no guy's ever been hard for me before. And I think that's kind of cute. You think it's cute when I have a boner for you? Where were you months ago? Sorry. That's super weird, but you know what I mean. Anyways, I remember basically after that whole thing, I was super like ecstatic. I was happy. I was freaking out. And then this is where things get worse. I remember there was my middle school, well, enemy, I would say, in this situation. He ended up walking up to me, and he was the lacrosse kid that was in the last 2 episodes of this story. He walked up to me and said, yo, like, what? You kissed him? Are you kidding me? And the kid that played lacrosse ended up pushing me on the ground. He pushed me on the ground and basically started laughing. And then I realized that my journal was literally on the ground as well, because it fell out of my backpack when he pushed me. I remember the kid that was like a lacrosse player that was also a bully in this sense ended up picking up my book, aka my journal, or diary as some people say, but it's a journal, and he started opening it and reading it. He read how basically I was in love with my middle school crush. He read how I was literally in love with her, how I loved her so much, how I was obsessed with her, basically everything that a guy should not be reading about another girl. And I remember he looked at it and was reading through it and was laughing and laughing, and he said it out loud to other people in the hallway, to the point where I stood up, I walked up to him, and I don't know what came a hold of me, but yes, I did do this, and I regret it so badly. I kicked him in the eggplant. Yeah, I kicked him in the eggplant. I was so embarrassed. And I remember when I kicked him, he ended up dropping my book. I grabbed it and I saw my middle school crush's eyes as she was like kind of like tearing up, thinking how like adorable it was for what I did. But I didn't know that. I thought she was embarrassed from what I wrote in my journal. So I ended up running away. I ran outside to the oak tree that was outside our middle school, and I sat down and started writing down what just happened. I never felt a more depressing day than that one. It sucked. I didn't know what to think. To think that, you know, I get kissed and the next minute I get exposed for just being me. It doesn't make sense. Anyways, after that situation, I remember I was sitting down and just kind of I don't know, being all sad. It got to the point where after writing my journal, I ended up reading my Batman comic book. And then that's when, out of nowhere, my middle school crush ends up seeing me again. She walks up to me and sits beside me beside the oak tree, and she's like, honestly, Bubba, like, that guy sucks, okay? Just don't listen to him. He's just a jerk. Yeah, I know, is what I said to her afterwards. She looks at me again and she's like, Bubba, listen, honestly, I think you're awesome, and I think you're adorable. I think you're cute. I really like you too. Really? Is what I said? Because I didn't believe it. To be honest, it felt like it was something straight out of a movie she was explaining to me. But then she ended up putting her hand on my hand that was on my comic book, and she ended up saying, also, my favorite superhero is Catwoman. What? Is what I said? At that point, I knew me and her, we were gonna be in a really good relationship. But at the same time, though, I will say this much, we were in middle school, so our relationship wasn't that crazy, but it does get crazier throughout the school year. But anyways, guys, that is basically it for today's story. Make sure you guys do leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And like I always say, just follow for more embarrassing but crazy stories. Peace out, guys. As this girl was laying down waiting for a kiss, I ended up looking around and I saw that everyone in the audience was waiting for me to kiss this girl. Obviously, I didn't want to, but once they started chanting kiss, 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 that's when I knew I had no choice. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name is Bubba, and welcome back to another embarrassing but crazy story. Now, today's story all takes place back when I was actually, funny enough, in grade 6. Meaning that this was the first year of middle school, and I'm gonna be honest with you, back when I was in middle school, I was a total nobody. No joke, I really did not know anything. When it came to Riz, when it came to pulling girls, absolutely nothing. And also, one major thing I struggled with back when I was in grade 6 was that I had a really bad stutter. And since I had a bad stutter, I remember back when I was in grade 6, my counselor back in my middle school ended up telling me, okay, Baba, since you have a really bad stutter, what we're gonna do is that actually we're gonna make you take theater lessons. I remember I was so confused on why they wanted me to take theater lessons, because I'm gonna be honest with you, I was not good enough to go on stage. Like, imagine a little kid just stuttering on a stage, not knowing what to say. Yeah, I thought that was gonna be me. But I remember my counselor ended up taking me to the theater class, and when I got there, I remember a lot of kids were really confused because we were midway through the school year, and I really did not want to be in that classroom. But luckily enough, I remember there was one girl in my class class that actually ended up coming up to me when my counselor brought me in, and she actually started being really nice to me. She introduced me to a bunch of different people in the classroom, and honestly, for some reason, this girl was actually pretty popular. I don't know why she took an interest in me. Maybe just because I was a simple guy that really didn't care about anything else and wasn't about horsing around like most people are back in grade 6. But honestly, I was accepting of it. And one thing led to another. Well, this is where the story gets kind of interesting, because I remember our theater teacher actually ended up making us do a play. And this play was called Romeo and Juliet. Now, if you guys don't know Romeo and Juliet, basically the storyline is about two people that fall in love and a bunch of really gross stuff. I don't know. To be honest, I'm not your English teacher, so I'm not going to teach you what Romeo and Juliet is. But we were actually going to do the school play. And funny enough, when the teacher ended up giving us our scripts, I ended up getting Romeo. And who was the girl that got Juliet? Well, the girl that introduced me to the class in the first place. For some reason, I guess my counselor ended up telling my theater teacher that it'd be smart for me to have a big role right off the beginning, so I feel like I have to get over my stutter and perform properly. Which honestly is a lot of pressure, especially for a kid like me back in grade 6. I was actually terrified. So if you're a teacher, please don't ever do this. But I remember when I got the script, I ended up reading it over, and the girl that was supposed to play Juliet ends up walking up to me. She walks up to me and says, "Hey, do you want to like practice our lines together since, you know, we're the main characters?" Yeah, sure. I'm down for that, is what I said to her. And I remember me and her, we ended up going to a separate room and practicing our lines. I remember when I was practicing my lines with her, this girl obviously noticed that I had a really bad stutter. And honestly, it was super embarrassing because knowing that the girl that was playing Juliet was one of the more popular girls in the classroom really just made me feel like my reputation in the school food chain was going to go down. But luckily, this girl was actually being really nice about it, and she understood that I had a really bad stutter. It was like the teacher told her that I had a bad condition of stutteritis back when I was younger. But I remember as me and this girl went through the script, out of nowhere, she gets really upset because one thing she ended up saying was, "Wait, what? Is there no kissing scene? Are you serious? Where's the kissing scene?" "The what?" is what I asked her. And that's when she ended up telling me the part of Romeo and Juliet where they actually are supposed to kiss. Now, I think our teacher actually ended up taking out the kissing scene because, well, technically speaking, I don't think a bunch of people in my school want to see two kids kissing, nor are parents allowed to make kids kiss, even if it's for a school play. So I didn't mind it. But as for this girl, well, she got really upset to the point where she actually ended up going up to the teacher and saying, "Excuse me, where's the kissing scene in this?" "Oh, yeah, we ended up taking it out because, well, I didn't know if you were comfortable with kissing." I remember she looks at the teacher and says, "What? Of course I am. You kidding me? It's all about Romeo and Juliet. Do you think William Shakespeare would just take it out? No, it's part of the storyline." I remember my teacher ended up trying to calm her down and then ended up looking at me watching this whole thing go down and asked me, "Bubba, are you okay with kissing?" I remember that moment, I just stood there frozen. I didn't even say a word. I just stood there looking at both of them as they were arguing. And when he asked me that question, well, I actually ended up just running away. I didn't know what answer to give. I didn't want to say yes because, you know, it's not like I didn't want to kiss her. But at the same time, I didn't want to say no because I didn't want to make it seem like that I didn't want to kiss her. I don't know. I didn't know what to say, and I just ended up leaving. That was the best thing I could do. My flight or fight reaction ended up kicking in. But as weeks went on, no joke, this girl got more upset as we ended up practicing together our lines because she was really upset that I didn't give an answer and just say yes to kissing her. So as we kept practicing our lines, she started being more distant with me and really upset. But as well as, not gonna lie, the play ended up being really great without the kissing scene. We ended up doing rehearsal and things went really well. And honestly, a lot of people in the classroom started liking how I actually was able to, well, perform better, even though I still had a little stutter, but still got into the groove of being on stage. But then the final day of when we were supposed to perform was the worst day of my life. Well, not actually, but back then in grade 6, it would have been. Because I remember on the final day of practice, that day after school, we were going to have parents and teachers and other students inside my school come and watch us perform the play. Consider it the final assignment for our theater class. And I remember I was like really nervous, but at the same time, I had my lines down. I was doing great in rehearsal. But one thing I never conquered, I guess, back then was stage fright. So knowing that I was going to perform in front of a giant stage was really nerve-wracking. But luckily, I wasn't the only one since most people in my classroom at the time didn't actually perform on stage ever in their life unless they were like, you know, gifted in some way. But I remember as we all got suited up in the change rooms and we all started getting ready, I remember this girl that was supposed to play Juliet ends up coming up to me. And after weeks of being super distant, she looked at me and said, "Baba, I have a question." Yeah, what's up? We're about to go on stage soon." "Yeah, I just want to know, are you okay with us kissing?" "Wait, what? Did the teacher put it back in?" No, I'm just curious." Yeah, no, I wouldn't mind kissing you. Not at all." but you know, it's not in the script, so it's whatever. Okay, that's fine. I'll deal with it. Wait, what? And that's when she ended up leaving. She ended up leaving right as she said she'll deal with it and ended up starting the play. I was so confused on like, you know, what she meant by that, but to be honest, I didn't really want to question it because obviously I had more things to focus on, and that was actually being on stage performing Romeo and Juliet. But as the acts went by and we ended up performing, on the final act is where things went south, because I remember it was the act and the scene where basically Juliet is supposed to be like, you know, pretend dead, and I'm supposed to, you know, kiss her to wake up. In reality, I just, you know, say some magical words and she wakes up, as the script would say. But this girl had a different plan, because I remember I ended up saying the lines that were supposed to wake her up from her forever sleep, but she wouldn't wake up. I was so confused and ended up saying the line again, but she still wouldn't wake up. I have no idea why she did this until I ended up looking at her and she ended up puckering her lips, wanting me to kiss her. And at that moment, I was in absolute shock. It got to the point where the audience ended up looking at me, and I ended up looking at her, wanting me to kiss her. And I ended up looking at my teacher, and my teacher just ends up pointing at her saying like, yes, like just kiss her. And everyone in the audience ended up chanting, kiss, 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 kiss. And me knowing that this was going down, I ended up just looking at her. And me, I'm not gonna lie to you, at this time I didn't have that much experience kissing women, okay? Like I've only maybe kissed one girl at that time. So I ended up bending over and kissing her, and when I did, the whole crowd just started cheering. It was the biggest cheer I think I ever got from me being on stage, like ever. And not to mention, my parents were in the audience, so kissing a girl in front of them was something I never expected to do back when I was in grade 6. But I ended up kissing her, and she woke up and ended up kissing me again, because I guess she liked it so much, even though it wasn't part of the script. And everyone started clapping, cheering even more, and then that's when the curtains finally came and the play ended. I remember I looked at her after when the curtains closed and asked her, why'd you do that? And that's when she said, well, the teacher's not going to stop the whole play just because we kissed. But my teacher ended up coming into the stage as the curtains closed and said, guys, you guys were not supposed to kiss, but I mean, you guys did it, and honestly it made the play a lot better than what it was written. So thank you guys for doing that appropriately. Next time, Bubba, when a girl wants you to kiss her, just do it. And to this day, I always kept that advice with me. When a girl wants to kiss me, just do it. But honestly, at the same time though, one of the things that I would always do is fall for more embarrassing stories just like this one. Peace out, guys.